AFA Today, Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us, live from the belly of the news beast. 888-589-8840 is my phone number. Again, Kevin McCullough, glad you're here. We're talking about a variety of things. I could have done, in fact, Brent will back me up on this. I asked if I could have 7 hours to do the show today. I've got 3 stories I wasn't even able to introduce because we didn't have enough time. But there's so many important things to talk about. I mean, truly important things. Your government rewriting the Freedom of Information Act from the beginning of the administration 6 years ago to exclude themselves from anything that might be able to be ordered by a judge to be seen. How's that work? Anyway, we're also talking about this principal in Texas. She got fired. And she got fired because she said to the students, during the school day, we're going to speak English on the campus. That's the rule. You're here during the day, got to speak English. You can do whatever you want everywhere else. Didn't single out anybody, didn't say, well, the Jamaicans get to speak something else, but the Hispanics, they got to speak English. No, didn't do that. Didn't create false dichotomies of unfair treatment. Made one rule, that rule across the board, speak English. Also, by the way, it's good for the kids. It's not insensitive. It's not offensive. It's not anything. You want to be an American? Do what we do in America. You want to speak like an American? Speak the language that is spoken in America. America is not a Hispanic nation. It's not a Latin culture. We speak English in America. And by the way, because we're such a melting pot of so many cultures, there's a good number of people that speak a good number of other languages too. But the language that we do commerce in, that we write our laws in, that we adjudicate justice in, that's all English. And if you want to be a contributor to the society, but you don't want to speak English, you don't want to be a contributor to the society. America's not come and do whatever you jolly well please as a nation. It has borders, it has sovereignty, and it has a language. And it should be recognized. To not do so is arrogant. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not to have compassion on people that come looking for help. And so often when I sense, as I did this morning, I had to take my truck over to the place to get it inspected for the state that I live in. And as I went to the first place where I thought it was, 2 places were owned by the same people just a block apart, and I was at the wrong one. But I got out of the car, and I went over to this one had a car wash at it, not a state inspection situation. So I get out, 4 guys come over to my car. I say, hi, and they nod at me. Okay. And then I say, I'm looking for the state inspection service. They shake their head. I don't know. Points to the next guy. You hear inspección. Okay, and so they don't know. They're hand gesturing. This is a public business dealing with the public in the suburban area around New York City. That's guy number 2. Goes to guy number 3. He repeats the inspección, says something else. Finally, the 4th guy, he adds the word state. State inspection. Oh, up, and he just points with his hand up the road. I spent about 4 minutes going through this process, and to my knowledge, there wasn't anyone on site because nobody from the building came out. This were just the 4 guys that were out in front of the place. Nobody came out, spoke. I was a customer. I could have been paying to get their services done. Now, does that make them horrible people? No, but it makes that business dysfunctional to the American public. And if those guys want to really get ahead in this culture, it would be to their benefit to begin to learn English as soon as they come to the United States. That would be to their benefit. which is all that Amy Lacey was trying to do as the director of the League of United Latin American Citizens. Augustin Pinedo was griping about. When you start banning aspects of ethnicity or cultural identity, she's not banning anything. She's not saying you can't wear your Free to Be Mexico Day T-shirt like they did in San Francisco, where the kids wanted to wear American flag T-shirts on Cinco de Mayo, and they were told by the principal that you couldn't, and then they were told by the court that the principal was right. She didn't do any of that. She said, speak English while you're at school during the day. 888-589-8840. Several of you want to weigh in on this. Let's go to, let me go to Domingo in Texas. Domingo, welcome. You're next on with Kevin McCullough. Thank you for being here.
Yes, I appreciate you taking my call.
Sure thing.
I do understand what the complaint is, and I do agree that the punishment that the principal has received is just. Here in Texas, a lot of Hispanics have received that kind of discrimination back in
Wait, Domingo, did you say that the punishment she received was just?
She was a child, and they would speak Spanish.
Domingo, hold on a second. Hold on. Can you hear me? Domingo, can you hear me?
I'd like you to listen to my point real quickly.
Domingo, can you hear? We're not going to let you filibuster. I want to ask you a question. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that the punishment she got was just?
It's just for right now, and the more punishment that's coming up is great, because this has to be seen and understood as a civil rights issue. Because
why? Okay, Domingo, that's interesting. Let me ask you another question. Why is it a civil right for a principal not to be able to say to the kids that are studying English as one of the core subjects of their education, by the way, why is it violating their civil rights to not allow that principal to make the rule in her school that her campus is going to be an English-speaking campus during the school hours?
Because that's something they already do. They speak English and Spanish. They're bilingual. It's not like when they go into class, they're not speaking English. They are. They're taking care of their studies in English.
So what's the complaint then? What's the beef?
The beef is that here in the United States, my money that's green isn't discriminated against. You see all these advertisements from businesses here in Texas that have all of their advertising in Spanish and in English. Why? Because they know where the money's at, and so they want to extract that money. If someone were to call your radio station and say in Spanish, "Yo quiero dar $10,000," I'm sure you would find someone who could interpret that and understand that they want to donate $10,000 to you. And you would say very happily, "Yes, we'll go ahead and take it," because that's something that is seen here in Texas. And for many years, discrimination has been brought against Hispanics. Now, you brought up the point.
So you honestly believe that she's attacking Hispanic people by making this rule?
By reiterating it over and over, the intercom system, yes, I do believe that, because it's already been said once. It doesn't have to be said over and over again.
No, now, well, you've never worked with kids then, Domingo, because I have to tell my 3-year-old 5 or 6 times a day to obey his mommy.
Yeah, but these aren't 3 or 5-year-old children that they're talking to.
Yeah, they're kids. Even kids still need to be reminded. The kids don't walk on water, Domingo. Come on.
And also the point that you made about...
Come on, kids don't walk on water. You got to admit, kids need reminding.
That they have to take their Mexican flag and go over there. Who said these people that are speaking Spanish are Mexicans?
Nobody said anything about a Mexican flag.
Turn back to the Mexicans again. It could be Hondurans, Salvadorians.
Nobody said it. Well, you're arguing against a straw man, Domingo. I didn't say anything about them having to be Mexican. I'm saying she didn't launch into an anti-Mexican tirade or an anti-Hispanic tirade or an anti-Honduran or Guatemalan or fill-in-the-blank tirade. She didn't go on any ethnic tirade. She didn't do anything negative. She said during the school hours on this taxpayer-funded school grounds, adhering to the curriculum, we're going to speak Spanish, or we're going to speak English. This is what we're going to do. To take anything negative out of that, to unpack that and go, well, she's obviously anti blah blah blah, it's reading into stuff that I don't have prescience on. I don't have the ability to look into her heart and say what that is. She probably, Domingo, also understands that a good deal of the students that are in her school are impoverished, and that there's a good number of students that need to be equipped with really good skills to get out of school and to go make a living for themselves. And to say you need to speak English well, and to put in a program in place that helps encourage that in the natural course of life. You ever study a foreign language? The best way to learn it is to be around people that speak it nonstop. How is she doing anything other than helping the students be prepared for what the next challenge is? I don't get it. But Domingo thinks the punishment is just, so I'm going to let him go on and think that the punishment is just. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Lily in Texas. Hi, Lily. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure thing.
As a parent, I probably just give you some aside for this. We originally at home we speak Chinese. However, I tell my children they shouldn't speak any Chinese at school because I don't want them to be misunderstood or not practicing their English.
Right.
So, for example, when my kids first was there, I mean, even though they are U.S. citizens, but because they lived with grandparents, whatever, so they speak Chinese better. However, I feel it's important that they don't speak any Chinese in school so that they not only pick up their English, but it's polite so that people understand what they are talking about when they talk with another kid.
Well, Lily, and I love you for that, lady. Look, we have passed the common sense of needing to be polite in our culture a long, long time ago. So the fact that you actually think about that and consider others in that, I mean, so you could even make the argument that if and I don't know anything about Hempstead, so maybe this is an affluent suburb, but if it is an urban culture at all, there's likely some gang activity that could be carried out. And if all of the teachers aren't bilingual, which isn't their fault, then it becomes a safety issue at some point sometimes as well. And so whether it's being polite, whether it's being safe during the school day, whether it's just helping kids that are already submerged in a culture where they're having to kind of get up to speed otherwise, then there's not a problem with this. She didn't do anything negative to make herself superior or anybody else superior. She just said this is the rule while you're in school during the day. And you got people like Domingo, our last caller, who are mad that she actually made that, like, she deserves to be fired in his mind.
Oh, that's very different. I mean, I know a lot of other Asian families. I don't think any of us would like our kids to speak our native language in school. We would love them to speak English. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, when my kids get, playing or whatever, doing homework with other, Asian kids, they understand both Chinese, but they don't speak Chinese. They speak English, which is good. I mean, even when I go outside, if I'm around somewhere, I try to speak English with them so that even though you're in the park, so that people know, you're not trying to hide anything or whatever.
Well, and I think to speak whatever language you want to. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a principal saying, for this school, for this day, for right now, this is what we're going to do. All right, Lily, thank you for that call. I appreciate that. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. And I temporarily lost my phone screen, Brent, so let me see if I can pull it back up. I can't see names. Okay, let's go to Charles in Missouri next. Hi, Charles. Welcome.
Yes, how are you? Thank you for talking to me. I got 20 years United States Army. I'm retired. And
thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. One of the things I find interesting about this whole Spanish thing is you've got a school employee who should be exercising the will of the school board of the locals. So if the locals are the ones who want to do that, then I may not agree with it, but they have to support them on that. But here's the funny thing. If they're going to go after her for the civil rights deal, then they're going to have to go after President Obama as well, because English is the primary spoken written language of our military force. And you're not to be speaking Spanish to me while I'm on duty. You're not supposed to, I don't need privates. I don't need sergeants talking behind my back in another language, whether it's Spanish or anything else.
Right.
Because our official communication language in the military is English. So if the Department of Justice wants to get off their hypocrite horse, then finally they're going to have to start exercising some other law somewhere else too. And it's just a shame, totally a shame.
It truly is. Charles, thank you for those thoughts. Look, bottom line here, I don't think that this principal was trying to hurt anybody. If anything, I think she was trying to say, hey, let's be consistent and help these kids get to a place where when they leave our school, they're equipped to go out into the world and to make the biggest difference they can. Some people are going to see it differently. But I don't think anybody that says, hey, can you speak English? I don't think that makes them an automatic racist. And I'm sorry that we live in a culture where that's the automatic position that people revert to without giving it any thought. Obliterating confusion, amplifying truth, pursuing clarity. I'm Kevin McCullough. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk.